There it is, right there. Yes. Okay. Okay. Let's just go quickly over notes for class today. Anybody want to start?
Always start on the wall with our legs up.
Okay. What was the puttering?
Cactus, variation across legs.
The right and left leg forward for
Right.
a short low lunge, the cat back.
Yep, same thing, just getting into the hips, round and around, lower back. The tendency in yoga in crescent lunge and half of a crescent lunge is to let the hips skew in the front of the, because it's this sensation that you get right in the hip flexor. And it kind of feels good, right, to stretch that out. It's short, especially if you run or anything. But the problem is when we do one-legged things, so you got a right or left in front, and that back leg, you're trying to access the hip flexor. In order to do that, I talked a little bit about the skewing the hips. So then the hips do this, and you shorten the lower back on that side. And that's when you get some kind of sciatic pain or that one-sided lower back pain. So we kind of explored that, right? Where I had you dive deep into it, come back out, and figure out where that point is, where you start to turn the hips to get that sensation. All right, so then, because I was setting you up for, now we're gonna use the wall to keep the hips aligned all the time. All right, so then what were the warm-ups?
Modified. Was it A and B or just B?
Absolute.
Right.
And then I did kind of a mashup of A and B, the step back, right? And we did the staying on the balls of the feet, pull through for a modified up dog. A lot more flowy, a lot more spinal movement, not so much strength involved. And then we did no chaturangas, no, really up dogs unless you wanted it, and no step forward transitions.
Like child's pose.
Right, at the front end and the back end
Yeah.
of the flow, right?
A couple of flows from down dog to plank.
Yeah.
Was
That
that in
was
the
that
warm-up?
flow,
though?
yeah, that was
Yeah.
that pull through, pull the hips through. But again, that was kind of accessing what I had on both sides. So what happens there, I see, is that instead of trying to pull the hips through the arms and staying strong in the legs, that people will take the hips and sink them to the floor. So then you have this really big compression in the lower back. Now, it's, maybe you wanted to go there a few times, but you should be able to go, this doesn't feel great.
Is it more of a hinge from dog to plank that you
It's a
should be
hinge.
coming from the, it
Hinge.
should be motivated by the legs
Yes.
going forward?
It's a hinge in the shoulders and in the hips. And there should not be, it is a,
Like a,
right, a pivot hinge. So then if you let the hips drop, right, that's doing something else. The hips are not doing that anymore. Now it's you're taking the spine into it. All right, and then the standing poses. I did Dancing Warrior over and over again, but with the weird vinyasa. And so we've explored Warrior One a lot of different ways this weekend. And so this time we had the wall to anchor, and how much, if you can really use the back foot, how much is going to help you come out of that low place.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I just remembered, I liked using the wall, like when your butt hit the wall, then you knew, like.
Yeah, you have
Because-
salutes.
Yeah. Sorry, I just backed this up. but-
That's all right, that's fine.
And you did a lot of the wide-legged chair to get us to prep for the
Molasses,
Molasses.
right. And then I use the wall two ways for like our side angle, as an anchor, and then also as a way to keep yourself aligned over that front leg, right? A lot of times that head goes inside the leg, and to be able to pull it back and over. And then the same, I used it for the triangle. And then I used it for our wide angle, just one-sided each side, to really feel, a lot of people will either collapse in their arches in wide ankle forward fold, or they're on the outside edges of the feet. To have the wall there to support you is a nice way to go, what am I doing at my feet? So I think using a wall is a great way to talk to people about hands and feet, which is what we're gonna talk about in the poses that we've learned, and the poses that, really, everything that we've learned, you have not gone over Dancing Warrior, okay? So we will learn that as a variation on Sun B, which just only throws in a Warrior 2 and a reverse, okay? So, any questions? And then I did my neutral poses and my revolve poses, very few of them, because I felt like your backs were toast. I didn't want to do any super strength and a twist. So I used the wall for a twist and camel, and the wall for your sage. I used the wall for your hand and foot pose, and for your, I didn't want to take you up to Warrior 3. I felt like that was going to be too much, but we did the prep for it in that grounded airplane.
What was your thought process getting this class together? Being as creative as using the wall and
Right.
and all the ways you did you just ad lib, or did you prepare for it?
Well,
Ahead of
you know,
time?
I probably, since COVID, and the classes have been really small, I've taught a ton of wall classes.
Okay.
So all the stuff that you did, basically I've done before in some variation. So my objective when y'all came in and then finding out, well, I knew last night that y'all had a little bit more than expected. So I thought about it, and I knew I wanted to do a gentle class, but then I saw that your mats were set up for the wall. So then I thought, well, that'd be great, just to find more stability and less strength. So
And everything we did, you've done before, you just pieced it together?
I pieced it together, I chunk it together, that's how I always teach. I'll go in the studio and, like, if I have an idea of how something's gonna transition from one thing to another, I'll do it in my body. I'll go, this is stupid, or, yeah, this kinda works, but I need to change this. I'm not a huge fan of, I feel like vinyasa is by nature a flow, that everything needs to smoothly interconnect. And I don't like to go to a class where you're gonna do this one thing, and then you gotta grab 300 other things and get all set up in a totally different direction. I feel like that dead time doesn't feel great in my body. So, that's just me. I think Hatha yoga is a lot like that, where you're like, okay, we're all gonna do this thing, and it's to get all these props and all these things out and do that for a while. And then you stop, and then you do this other thing for a while, and other props and other stuff, and it doesn't connect. But it does give you different kind of information about your practice. So a lot of times when I'm still working through how I'm gonna teach, like for the week, usually most of my classes are pretty similar, or I might have 2 concurrent themes in a week, and I kind of let them play out. But, you know, this is year 12, so it's just a lot of hours of teaching. And since I opened the studio, even a ton more. We used to only teach 2 or 3 times a week.
I really liked when we twisted it into the wall like this.
Right. It gives you a whole new view on it, right?
Yeah, and my back was just like the
Right.
whole way. It felt great.
I love, in my personal practice, to use the wall, because it keeps you honest. And I like to teach classes on the wall because it's multi-level. Everybody can get something out of it.
After breaking it down, it felt so different, that class. And after breaking it down, I mean, it was so similar to your class on,
Right.
well.
I'm teaching the same
I don't know, whatever
things.
one.
I'm
Yeah.
teaching the same thing.
Yeah.
This is my thing that I have had for a week or 2.
Yeah.
And it's a lot about the hips, you know, what's going on,
Yeah.
right? And you keep hurting your lower back. There is a teacher that I worked with at the yoga circle, Elizabeth Hughes, and she is a great teacher. And she had to just quit teaching because she is hyper mobile, and she just kept doing that thing to her sacrum over and over. And Melissa Scott, another person, kept doing it, right? So then she really got into the Sadie Nardini stuff, that stuff is kind of built for hypermobile people and the things that they do to adjust themselves to a traditional class. Now, I think some of that stuff is really interesting, a lot of bent elbow stuff, right, keeping you out of the locked elbow. So I think it's, Peyton said it well yesterday, that to just be curious about, this is the body I'm bringing to this thing. And what is it that I keep doing, and why am I hurting myself just to make this shape a certain way? All right, so then we just did, and what did y'all think about the block on your feet?
Very cool.
Ironically, it like made my legs relax.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to like touch the
You
ceiling.
thought, you probably had this idea like, oh my God, now I'm gonna have to do
Now I'm
balance
gonna
this
have to
like on
hold
the
this-
top of the head,
Yeah.
right? But it feels like I'm just settling you in.
Yeah.
We fight our bodies.
One other thing I liked was transitioning from the standing split to the airplane. I mean,
Oh, to the half moon.
half moon, yes.
Yeah, the similarities between the poses.
And,
There is not a lot of difference, you know, in what's going on.
Yeah, and I think I will definitely practice that at home in the studio where, you know, you can do the floating
Yeah.
half moon. Like a little bit better, just to stabilize with the foot
Well,
on the wall.
what happens if you don't use the wall to do the floating half moon is that you try to grow a third leg, okay? So you try to take that foot way back here, and then you take the torso over here,
Yeah.
right? So to use the wall, right?
Keep you in
Now I
line.
can push, and the wall is my third leg.
Yeah.
It seemed more difficult when you said to float the hand.
Because you're fighting, you know, you're fighting. You're like not using the wall for its purpose, which is it's the floor now.
That was the one that felt most asymmetrical in my body, out of all
Right.
the poses.
So the wall class is a really good intro to where Haley and I want to go with the next until lunchtime, is that we're gonna talk about hands and feet, hips, positioning in these poses that we've already learned. We will explore this extensively in November, but what I feel like it might be too much information to take in one weekend and do something with it. So we're gonna just explore just really the things that we've already learned and the positioning and working with ourselves so that over the next month, while you're practicing yoga, while you're teaching yoga, that you're experimenting with these different places, that you're not stuck in your box of hands and feet need to be here, hips need to be here, down dog needs to be this distance, right? Warrior 1 needs to be this distance, warrior 2 needs to be this distance. I need for y'all to have some knowledge of that just in your body. If you shorten things, why do you not like it? And I do not want to hear that it's not hard enough. That's ridiculous.
You can sweat standing in your mountain pose,
Right.
holding it,
Yeah,
right? Sweat.
yeah. You know, and so, and what are those, what is it? I mean, I talk a lot in the centering about these stuck places that we have in our bodies, in our hips and in our shoulders. And honestly, to me, it seems like the stuck places in our head, that we have created a narrative around a lot of the poses and we're stuck with them. And why? I don't know. I know why for me, but I don't know why for you guys. So we'll spend the next month and, you know, whatever time we have left, I mean, we probably won't really practice much anymore, and we'll do a little practice teaching. And so that might be nice for you to just watch bodies and go, huh, and try it yourself. Go, I'm like when you talk about your teaching your boyfriend and what you see and why is it that is happening, and do it in your body. What is it that's causes that, you know? And in terms of not necessarily that they're not doing it perfectly, but that this is the pose, this is what they're doing. They're doing what you told them to. Any questions? Are y'all sick of that? Are y'all sick of hearing that? Any questions? But, you know, I need for y'all to speak up, anything. All right, well then I'm gonna go through a little exercise with Haley, okay? So we'll just start with mountain pose. So come to mountain pose for me. All right, so say Haley, let's say I'm gonna take Haley from the back of the mat to the front of the mat, and I know that I'm gonna take her, or maybe I just have her walk from the back of the mat to the front of the mat. And she is the toe turner outer, and she gets to the front of the mat. So just take a few steps and show them how you get to the front of the mat. Okay, so now we got this guy, right? So then I'll say, we're gonna come to mountain pose, and I'll cue parallel your feet, okay? But usually a toe turner outer doesn't get all the way there. Okay? It's okay. Just the knowing that this is me is okay. I'm gonna leave this, okay? Because for them, this may feel like they're doing this.
My husband has those feet. I call them his yabba dabba do feet. Because they just catch it.
Well, and you look at their shoes, and the back heel is like, there is nothing. There's just the inside of the shoe, right? And they're dragging, they're doing this to the wall. Yep,
Yeah, and it's loud.
But yeah, that's a great point, to correct that much. is
Exactly.
taking a strain on,
Huge.
that's a huge adjustment for them.
Huge adjustment.
Yeah, and it's doing different things to their knees and their hips and the rest of their body
I'm just
too.
asking for knowledge. There's the curiosity, right? Okay, so I'm gonna leave this just like it is. So then she's gonna take her mountain pose, and because her toes are slightly turned out, she's gonna engage her butt when you start to talk about bringing your thighs forward, because her feet are in the wrong place. And you'll see this little indent here in her butt. But it's because it started with the feet. Okay.
What if you put a bend to your knees? Put a bend.
With it turned
Yeah,
out
it'll
still.
relax her butt.
Yeah.
But these people are lock-kneed as well. You've seen it, right?
Yeah.
Okay?
It's like a cowboy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, these are the things you start to see when you walk around your person that you're teaching, okay? So, what happens next? She's engaged her fanny, she's got the little indents. She's also shoving her hips forward a little bit to make this happen. So she's got a little pelvic tilt under, okay? So, you know, you talk a little bit about correcting it here. That's gonna help this person. I would address belly more than drop tailbone. Drop tailbone, they're gonna, you know, that's just huge. That's like, get them parallel. That's too much. So this is where you would kind of fix this. And maybe a little bend in the knees would be helpful, but they're gonna come back to the lock knee immediately. I mean, they just cannot help it. That is 100%, okay? Then you have people that this is them. They're on their phone all day. They don't even know, it's probably not that extreme. They don't even know, okay? And they've developed a little bit of, what is this called, lordosis right here? Hyposis. And it's just, you're not gonna correct it. So when you say anything about their head, what are they gonna do? They're gonna do this. I don't want that. So I talk more about this. This is, you can't do a block on somebody's head. That would freak them out, right? They're like, oh, Jesus, what is this? But maybe you come up behind them and you tell them to lift into your hand. They're not having to balance, but it's going to correct this neck immediately. And it's like the block on your feet, right? You weren't worried about the block falling off, but it just gives you something, yeah? All right, and then finally this, across the collarbones. I'm gonna take your shirt off. Is,
That's why I didn't change.
yeah,
This morning I was like,
especially with people that do HIIT, any kind of strength training. Oh my gosh, it's this. Okay? So I talk a lot about spreading the collarbones. Maybe dropping the shoulders out of the ears. I love the cue to squeeze your shoulder blades, but what's going to happen is this and then the hike in the butt, and you lost your belly. Too much. Like I said, it's too much, right? So, you know, if you got your hand, if you got your person that you can work with, this is nice. She can feel that she's come out of her neck. And then you might be just a little bit of this. But it's going to feel good to them. That's a lot of information, right? Just in mountain pose. So it's a great place to start your class because you can tell a lot about somebody's body what they brought into the class. Can you think of anything else I didn't cover? Hands, y'all talked about hands already. You know, that you're gripping, or you're like, I got this thing going. And that one might just be a nice little, you come up and you. Now y'all, I'm not okay with assists in a big classroom where somebody's paid money and come in and there are like 20 people in there. For several reasons. One, you never know if somebody's had any kind of physical trauma. Okay? And then for you to go up there and mess with them is wrong. Secondly, most people are not used to being touched, and they think that you are telling them they are doing it wrong. That is so not what I want to do. I want to give them support. But I can't say that in a big classroom, okay? And the third thing is you can't touch everybody in the room, so people feel left out. Yeah, can you think of any others?
It's good to stand behind your students, right? We've talked about that a little bit, but you saw as she was making all of those adjustments from my feet to my head, it was all from standing from behind.
No intimacy. You got a teacher that's gonna come up and breathe in your ear or look you in the eye, run.
Just run out of the studio.
Gotta go!
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
See ya.
That is some creepy. But, you know, there are some teachers in this stupid thing that we do that, you know, that's how they go out with people. Yeah, it's ugly, but it's true.
Can I say something about that?
Yeah.
This is a studio here in town, a long time ago, but I was concerned because I first started out in yoga and I was in a down dog and this man laid on me.
Right, too much.
And I was like, I think I'm turning red right now. I was like, this is weird.
Yeah,
It was weird.
yeah,
It's too much.
If it's weird, leave, really.
Yeah,
yeah.
Don't assume
yeah.
that you have
It
to
was bad.
take that.
Yeah.
Right.
You do not have to take it.
It was very strange.
Didn't the Bikram guys like stand on people and stuff and?
I mean, you know, a lot of I'm not gonna go down that road too much. A lot of times it is some kind of trust between the student and the teacher, right? That they know each other, we do this all the time. No, we're good with this. But imagine that you're another student in the class and you're new and you're looking at that going, Jesus, I hope that person doesn't come over here and do this to me, right? That's a bad feeling. Okay? All right, let's do, all right, so then from mountain, let's do high mountain. Okay, or just on your heels, let's do on your heels. So now, I've got my guy that does powerlifting, okay? This is so hard for that person, okay? And they're gonna do this number. Because they can't get their arms up there, but they can if they do this. All right, so you have to talk a little bit about that and this rotation out. Oh, see, and you can help them out, and then watch how she's going to lift her hands as I hold on here. Nice, huh? Okay, I'm not going to focus on that anymore, but you see that everywhere we go, you bring yourself to the pose. Yeah? All right, let's do a forward fold.
For this, for the side.
Yeah. What do you
Right.
mean?
For this,
Yeah.
to the side.
Okay, yes, from the
But
side,
not-
right, but not
butt
in the
on my-
camera.
Butt on you, Peyton.
All right, let's do it, let's do this guy, yeah, and the lock knee, and let's see this guy, all right? She starts to fold, she's way out over there, right? And then she just has to, like, that's as far as she's going. Ugh. And the head never drops.
Yes.
You're just looking at them like, oh my God, I can't believe we've got 100 of these, or whatever, you know, because it looks pretty painful, and they've levered their butt. So this is what I'm really against, and we did the wall thing today to prevent this. So this pose, over and over again, this is what makes people not come back to yoga after a while. Because from here, all the way to her Achilles is overstretched. Haley is hypermobile, and this feels good to her. But she is not using her hamstrings for strength. Okay? Yoga is about strength. It's not about flexibility. I'm just going to tell you, it's not. We have got to get out of that. I'm flexible because I do yoga. I feel better because I do yoga, not I'm flexible because I do yoga. We have got to be stronger in our bodies, because one day you too will be an old person. And I know, right? You have got to be strong. Anyway, so what happens when you keep overstretching, keep overstretching, keep overstretching, keep overstretching, is that the muscles here at the butt start to fray. Okay? So then, I know probably most of you have had this happen. You sit for a long time, and the sits bones themselves irritate these frayed hamstrings. And then you get the thing. You know, it's a ouch, ouch, ouch. My butt hurts on one side. So, that is from this movement. Okay? My suggestion, if that starts to happen to you, is that your forward folds look like this. Did you see that?
Yes.
That was the most freeing thing. It's like, bend your knees a lot. I was
Yes.
like, yeah, okay, I can do that.
Hinge.
Because I'm using my
Yeah.
legs.
Yeah.
I'm using my legs. It's a strength move.
And when you say to put more weight into your toes.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Get out of your
that's
heels.
just a game changer.
But look, people look at yoga and they go, I can't touch my toes. Like, that is in their head the defining moment of yoga. So I'm standing here, the teacher says forward fold, and you've got some issues. Okay? First thing I'm going to do is this. Then I'm not going to get very far, then I'm going to round some shit down here. And then I'm kind of stuck here. Or not ever dropped my head, because ow, so much hurts, ow. All I can say is, I talk a little bit about finding child's pose standing, to have that feeling again, right? So when I bend my knees, I put my hands on the floor. Here are my knees, near my shoulders, like I do when I'm in child's pose. That feels good. Then I'm going to be able to drop my head, because my head was like this because ow, so many places ow. So you could cue dropping your head, but they're not going to, because they are uncomfortable. Now, a lot of teachers will say grab some blocks, but I think those are too far away for most people, still. Okay? So then, I'm perfectly happy with, this is your half lift. And then you might even have them rock, because they still might have levered their butt way too back, far back. I don't know. Yeah?
This is, if someone's new, I see this one the
Yeah,
most,
yeah.
it's this. with the
That is their
round.
forward fold, period.
Yeah, you just shifted so much weight into your heels.
Yep,
Yes.
That's how they do it. And the bendy person who's new also does the same thing,
Yeah.
but does it
Both people do it.
both. It took, I think it took me 3 or 4 years of doing yoga to find the front, the front. So,
With the
And
body
y'all may be doing this without you even knowing, but the wall kept you honest, right? The wall kept you honest. And a lot of times when I do the wall thing, people think I am joking. That their butt is not supposed to touch the wall. They're like, well, gosh, she doesn't have a butt. No, your butt doesn't touch, step away from it a little bit. I mean, if your butt is touching the wall this far away from the, yeah, you're gonna have to step a little bit away. But you're gonna have to play with it, right? Because that is the intention. You're using your hamstrings to get yourself down there and to take yourself back up. You felt that, right? Your hamstrings like, Jesus, why are we doing this? Because they're used to just like, and the same is true in all of your forward folds. Wide angle, any of them. You're coming down for your big toes. That's another one. People, so you go, put your hands under your feet, and they're like, here. Well, she certainly did not mean my whole hand. And I mean your whole hand. Whether that's bending your knees to get down there or not. Even if it looks like this, where I'm just like in a little squat, then I can sit into my toes. But I mean, the practice, Ashtanga poses they're designed for this. We were never supposed to do a forward fold like this. The reason you grab your big toes, the reason you step on your palms, is you're trying to get the weight into your toes. Yes, you will see people that do Ashtanga that are like 22 years old, and they're in the stepping on their palms, but they levered their butt way back, and they are just like a hairpin. I mean, they're a bobby pin. They're completely pressed. That is not the intention. Not.
So to get to forward fold correctly takes a lot of strength in your
Yes.
hamstrings. But a lot of people have stretched out hamstrings that are not strong. And so, like with our exercise today, with our butt against the wall, doing the half salutes, it was the last one that I was able to do it. And I was like, my hamstrings were working really hard, and I almost felt like I was gonna fall
Right.
forward.
Yes.
But, so I think that takes like a lot of trust, like for a student that, and we've been doing this exercise with
Right.
you. I mean, that was not the first time we've
Right,
done it,
right.
we've done it multiple times. So I just feel like how do you cue someone to like start the journey of that kind of?
Bend your knees.
Just bend your knees, yeah.
Bend your knees.
Yeah.
That is, the wall work for half salutes is advanced.
Yeah,
I now have a whole room full of yogis
Yeah.
that do yoga all the time, but now they need to refine it. The forward fold, for most people, just gosh, bend your knees so much that it feels good.
every single time.
Every single time.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Because like, if
Because
you ask someone-
honestly, people think that their hamstrings are not flexible, but it's not. It's mostly this right here,
Yeah, totally.
right? It's that and most people's hamstrings are not strong. But, you have to just go, I know, I'm sorry. Okay. People have their narrative, and you cannot, when they're ready to hear it, right? When they're ready.
I've noticed in some classes that you will not even sometimes say forward fold at the beginning of the class. You'll
Hands to the
you'll
floor.
start with bend your knees, and then you're like lean your torso
Yeah,
over.
yeah.
You don't even say those
Right.
words so that people don't go to the
Yeah,
back position.
I like torso between thighs.
Yeah, that's what you say.
How are you gonna do that? You're gonna have to bend your knees, dang it. All right, and then the half salute. All right, so let's do, I mean, Haley pretty much did it. It's the lever your butt back. That's the extreme case of it. The other one is, I don't know what you're talking about, lady. Half lift. Or, I still haven't, I don't know if I can cue this correctly or not, but what about the hanging the hands and they do this thing? You go half lift and they're there. Ow! Ow, 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 right? Support yourself, right? That's really critical. But once people start to support themselves, right, push really hard into, there it is again. Okay?
So like it would make my legs look like they're on backwards. This one, gross.
I think, so watch this. So why are we so insistent on Sun A, Sun B and learning it? Learning it. Because it sets you up for the next place. And all about this vinyasaing is I'm setting you up for the next place. What does my transition look like? So the transition here, half lift, I have made my back for a plank pose. This is my plank pose. Okay? This is a lot of it here. I don't know what the head dropping is about, but it's here. So if I go to chaturanga, if I go to plank, I've already set myself up. Here go my hands to the floor, and I'm there. I've already set it up. I didn't have to drop my head. I didn't have to do anything, okay? And in the chaturanga as well. So you're setting yourself up for the next place. Okay, let's talk plank just a moment. Will you show it from feet back here, hands here? All right, you got your guys that work out all the time. Their plank needs to look like this. Open your arms just a little bit. Yeah, then they're going to be able, I need for it to be more, I need for there to be flatness. Do the little chicken wing thing. Right, what happened? How do you fix that?
Can't do it.
Very difficult, very difficult. It's hard to fix that. I don't know what that's about. I haven't figured it out yet. I think it's about strength. I'm working on that one. Can you do your elbows different ways though? Can you turn your elbows? Okay, so I don't ever want this. This is hypermobility, okay? See how she can take them out of, like they're out of socket basically. So here's where this happens. So she can do her elbows like this. They are useless, okay? So what's happening is the weight gets transferred to her wrist and her shoulders. Mostly wrist. And she's going to mess it up. Okay? I tell you what though, people that can do this, I don't know. I've never had this feeling in my life. You know, this would be like telling a man what it's like to have a baby. I can't imagine what this would be like. So I tell them to bend their elbows and everything, but they don't. And so I think it's because there's some aspect to it that feels good. Does it scratch some itch for you? I don't know.
I think like, cause I'm hypermobile too, and that's something that I've worked on with Kat a lot, and it has completely changed my practice,
Right.
bending it. But in the beginning, it just felt so weird, like, and it was.
So the thing that changed
It
it
felt really.
for me, and this is why the cue, eye of your elbow forwards, I'm like, don't tell me that, because that is
Yes.
easy for me,
Yes.
and I do it
Yes.
backwards. So it was opening a door knob with both, because then it does the shoulder and
Yeah.
puts the elbow in the healthy range versus unhealthy, was opening a door with both hands.
Right.
Like a, palm on a doorknob and you're dialing
And
out.
yeah, then I'm like, oh, that
Because it's a
feels
shoulder and
amazing.
collarbone thing too at the same time.
Right.
It's all of it.
And to bend your elbow, like, so to lock out, because, I didn't even know that I locked my elbows out for so long.
Yeah.
And to bend them, you're hanging on your skeleton's doing the work for your muscles.
Right.
So it's wearing your joint out, but then once you bend them a little bit, your triceps are like,
Your
holy
triceps,
shit.
yeah. Why are we doing
Yeah.
this?
Yeah, so
Yes.
it's really hard.
Right.
And then also, I mean, even when someone tells you to bend your elbows, it's so hard to see, you know, like, it's so easy for a teacher to see
Right.
what someone's body's doing, but you have no idea what your
You
own
have
body's
not,
doing.
that's right.
Yeah. So you might even think you're doing it, but you're not quite doing it.
These are the people who get really hurt.
Well, and they won't put their knees down, then nobody, it's like, knee down plank is not easy.
It's really
No, it's not.
hard, yeah.
Yeah, so like,
Yeah.
They're like, I don't need to do that, I'm like, oh, you do.
you're gonna kill your
Because you're-
elbows.
On your whole leg, scary.
But then let's do the super muscular person plank pose.
I see this for
Yeah,
those
they do
people.
that.
Ugh.
And look at, so her elbows barely get straight, so it's a lot of this, like that. How long could you do that? I don't know, not long.
Poor little. And then they're like,
So
I
you
hate
have-
yoga, and you're like,
So
yeah.
that is the eyes of the elbows, but maybe the opening the doorknob, but I'm scared you're gonna get people to turn their hands. So
Oh,
a lot of times I will fix this, let's briefly just go to a down dog. I'll try to fix this, hopefully they didn't take the longest down dog in the world, because you gotta use your feet for this. Bend your elbows out to the left and right, then spin your elbows back towards your feet, there. That's the feeling you want them to have. Okay? So that takes them out of, go back to your hunched up one there, elbows out to the left and right. Then she's gonna turn them, and there it is. Do you see that? Okay, thank you, Haley.
I think I might have an idea. So when you're turning, when you say the doorknob thing, so, you know, like supination and pronation comes from your elbow joint, or it's your forearm, and it looks really similar to shoulder internal and external rotation, if you don't know the difference. But spinning the eye of your elbow forward is using these
Just this one
teeny little
thing,
muscles right here, right below and above your elbow, that are gonna get fried.
Right.
Whereas if you come from your shoulder, then you're using all this big musculature that can support
It's
your body
actually
weight.
here, it's actually here. It is serratus. So
Posterior.
this is, nobody uses this. This is the older woman fat back thing, okay? This is the most important muscle, honestly, in your flow. Because you're using this guy to come down, okay? If you keep doing this thing, it's not gonna hang on with you for the rest of your life. All right, this is my break. This is what slows the whole thing down. This is what I use to start my back bend. You see how it drops down to make it lift up. So I pull it in so that I can open my chest. This, somehow you have to, this is very hard to tell people because they've never used it in their lives. But it is the most important stabilizer for the plank, to chaturanga, for your up dog, then for down dog. That's what's holding me here. If I just hang into this guy, I'm not gonna be able to do it for very long. It's almost like in down dog, I'm trying to pull this guy in towards the center. And we've only covered plank, down dog, forward fold. Right? So, can we talk about feet and plank?
Yes.
Okay. No. Do sideways, yes. I want her to be, I want this to be super stable. So I like feet hip width apart, okay? Plus, it's gonna make a nice transition back to downward facing dog. But say I'm gonna take them to a side plank, okay? I'm gonna get her to move her feet together and then roll into her side plank. There, right? Nice. I like stacked feet inside plank. Do the lift with the leg. Do the lift to top leg. That's a stupid side plank. Stupid. I don't even want people to do it. Because they've lifted the leg and they let their hips sink and they're hanging in the shoulder. But you cannot talk people out of that, baby. It's harder. okay?
I like the knee down for that one too.
Yeah. Or the foot in the front, do that one,
Yeah.
do the foot in the front, side plank, foot in the front.
This
No,
guy.
Put, so nice, now she can really push,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And that does that
And it
whole-
helps with,
Yes,
to
so
me,
nice.
this
Yeah.
helps with the sensation of side plank of hips wrapping in together, so that once
She can squeeze her inner
this makes
thighs.
sense, then you can find the same.
And it feels more like side plank. Knee side plank doesn't really feel like it. Now, I will have people try to clear the floor just a tiny bit with the knee and a knee side plank, so that there's that lift, push, and there was no sinking. I love the transition from dragonfly to side plank, but honestly, it's problematic, because it's a little bit of a twist. I gotta get my hips around, and the sinking happens, and I don't know, some kind of, it's just not great. So I like this guy with the foot in the front. Oh, it feels good. Okay, so then, let's do, I know you're exhausted, but will you show me your transition back to your downward facing dog when you do the pelvis tuck under,
Okay. From plank,
from plank?
this, or the other way?
The other way, yeah, there you go. Oh, a lot of planks, and yeah, there's the drop in the hip. And see how, you can see it there in the butt. All right, can you do, so do the extreme, the hike, you're there. There's that overstretch again. Did you see that? This is the forward fold with the overstretch, that one. I know you can do it, but do you have to? No.
Remember I told you the head on the floor person at the My Old Studio? I should get my head to the floor, right? No! Go away, no!
So this is taking her hamstrings in the longest direction. On top of that, too much on the shoulders.
Your chest is so far close to the chest.
I know it might feel good. Maybe you do it once, but don't hang in it for long. All right, so then you start to build this and you pull the belly back towards the spine. And this person, you can almost tell them to try to tuck their pelvis under. There. It's done. Because it went so far the other way. This is unusual. You're only going to have 2 people in a class like this, okay? Most of the times, take your hands even further away.
Oh, God, okay.
I know, it's
You're
terrible.
living on a prayer, Pilar.
So, okay, but then take your head out here. Okay, so this is really what you see.
I can handle this.
What is that supposed to be down?
So
dog?
this is like.
We don't know what it is.
You don't know what it is. It's like a teepee pose.
I don't know what that is.
That's what.
We don't know what it is.
Right, this is what your husband does. This is what your boyfriend
And
does.
with the head up, you
Yeah.
like this, looking around.
But she's too flexible right here. You really, we're not getting the full impact of it. It's usually even, there it is. She just did it.
The
There's
bubble
the
back.
rounding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just teaching down dog to somebody that doesn't do down dog ever, and like the correct alignment and what you're supposed to
look,
look like. And,
You got a wall,
yeah.
and you just teach it to them like this.
Yes.
Okay?
That's a great
And
idea.
this is this person here, and they really can't find it. So, you can just help them there.
Mhm.
And there's less moving parts when you're on the
Right.
wall for
Yes.
that thing,
Yes.
right?
You want to make these muscle memories for people.
Mhm.
That's what we're teaching, right? So if you can create an environment using the wall for them to make this correct memory, then when you change it to another orientation, more success. So that, and you need to think about that in all the poses. We do, whenever I teach a class, probably most of the class, I'm doing one pose in 100 different orientations, right? So that at some point, maybe some light bulb goes off and you go, huh, this feels better, worse, whatever, right? So that's what you got to do when you're doing this little bit of practice teaching, is what's going on? So Haley and I are just walking through what you see and what are possibilities. Okay? All right. I'm just going to make you do it one time.
Okay.
The descent. do our
What kind?
nice little, yeah,
Shamu?
do the, yeah, let's do Shamu.
Okay. I don't know.
Okay, I'll do it. I
Okay.
can-
I don't know.
I can do it. So
It's hard for
you
me
take them out
to
to plank and you go, I need for you to get to the floor.
do it. Yeah, okay.
And you hear like the crashing wave, right? You're like, wow, that person, you
It's
know,
like a belly
really is
flop.
not strong enough for this. But you tell them to do the knees, okay? So say you've done the knees and you're still gonna get this. Not perfect, but they're just not strong enough. They're not strong enough. So why not do this thing instead? Scooch on up. They're not, I mean, you can't force somebody to have used their triceps, biceps in a certain way. And then you get them and you're like, I just want you to have a good experience, not, you have bruising on your tummy.
But when I was doing CrossFit, I went to a yoga class and they were, saying to do that, and I just, out of habit, because when you're doing burpees, it's just like a
Slam
tap,
yourself
what I
here
mean?
and there,
And
right?
then she was like, well, softer, and I
Yes.
was like, oh, got it. Not that I couldn't do it, but just my muscle memory was
Okay, well,
different.
watch this. All right, so that's the person that comes from CrossFit, right? And then you've asked them to do a push-up and they go like this. It's pretty fast, right? And my elbows are out to the right and left. When I did that, I only used the front of my shoulders. That was it.
It hurts.
And it's not great. My shoulders are not brakes. This big, fat, meaty guy, he is, okay? So when I set myself up, I have to talk to that area, and this is my descent. I mean, I'm way in that. My shoulders feel nothing. It is all in my back, okay? Complicated. This is a complicated move, folks. You're not going to be doing it like that. Anybody that is brand new to yoga, that takes years of learning what the heck this does.
I bet you could, how you did the down dog on the wall, I bet you could do that on the wall
Yeah.
to just take the weight out of it so they can feel the movement.
Well, okay, so I do this, you guys, I think I taught this the other day, this,
Yeah,
right?
Or standing.
But you gotta somehow talk to them about, so they're just doing this. I'm using my shoulders to do this, okay? You gotta talk to them about accessing this. And can you draw in here, here, here? It's not as significant because I don't have no weight on it and it doesn't feel like much.
Maybe you touch it.
Yeah, maybe you hold
touch
on
it,
to
Yeah,
it,
touch
yeah.
it with your opposite arm and
Yeah.
then you can feel where you're supposed to be activating.
But I'm
I
gonna
feel it
tell
right now.
you, I have tried.
But I don't
For
mean in a
years.
class, I just mean, I'm
Right.
trying to think of my.
Even when you just teach your little significant other, this guy, nobody uses, period. They don't know where it is. Y'all, I promise you, when you leave and I ask you to do these things, you're gonna go, I'm not sure, I've never done that. Okay?
It's also because we're,
Yeah,
and that's one of the muscles that,
pulls it down, there's that retraction. When I talk about doing your cobra pose, I say glue and reach, there it is again, pulling it up. I start there, these.
I remember an exercise that we used to do at a physical therapy clinic was you had a ball on the wall, like an exercise ball, and then you push your palm into it, and then that
Oh, rotating,
strengthens
yeah,
your serratus, and you'll be able to find
yes.
it. And if you go clockwise and then
It's hard.
counterclockwise, it's
And those
super hard. It's
muscles are small,
Yeah.
and they are not used to doing any work for you, and they will get sore. So when you start to do this work, you're gonna, I think the ball is a great idea. When you start to do this, you're gonna go, and they will, it hurts.
It could be like an exercise ball or a tennis, whatever ball.
But that is the, I do not expect that in a general class, for somebody to find that. When I have a yoga person show up I've never seen before, and they can do that, I'll go, this person's done yoga a long time.
Do you mind cueing the down dog and then kind of the child's pose out.
All right,
into
I'm
the
gonna show
wall.
you what you do.
Yeah.
Okay? This is some kind of, I don't know where it gets learned, okay, is that you come out and it's kind of like a wave in your shoulders where you go, this. Did you see that? I came behind my elbows. I'll do it again. You come out and you come back and then go. Did you see that? Yeah, everybody
I
saw
did
it?
that for years.
Yeah, I just
I've
stopped.
definitely done
I
it
mean,
by accident before.
Because
and
it
I was
feels
like,
like, oh, I'm like blowing
Right.
down.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think maybe some teachers have taught that in the past. No. No. It's not good for your shoulders. What I try to describe is that the movements are individual and discrete, and there's a lot of linearity involved. Okay? So if I'm in my down dog, that's one place. I'm in my plank, that's second place. I've got to set myself up. Here's my head reaching forward. This is the third place. I'm coming here. My shoulder heads are going to stay right here and go up.
And you also shift a lot of the weight too.
That's me. Not everybody. Depends on your torso length. I do the shift because I know I'm going to roll over my feet.
Okay.
So, this is where people don't get off their feet. Do you see the shift? I have no weight in my toes, so I can be up here.
But that cue is what has helped me in your class like months ago, when you made us shift as
Feet.
far
Yeah,
forward
that's-
as we
yeah.
could, that's what
She
helped
goes,
me.
you're gonna hate me, we're
Yeah.
doing the feet, and
That's-
everyone,
Yeah, but like that's what helped me get far enough to actually do chaturanga correctly.
And then, you know, that's
That's
not
right,
even
and
the
then you
end of,
can feel it.
that's not
Yeah.
even the end of the road.
Yeah.
Because look, let's go back to the feet and your person. They've learned how to roll over their feet, okay? This is what it looks like. Here they go to plank, they do this thing, and they go like this. No. It's gotta be straight over. Okay? That's another one, you know, y'all can think about. It takes, you know, to me, that transition feels like I'm gonna go to crow. I've pushed myself so far out there.
It's almost off balance. Haley taught me that because when I came to Masala, I was a roller. And
yeah.
la la la. Yeah, and so she was like,
I mean,
hold
I
it
love the rolling thing too.
pull
This is what we
forward.
did today, right? We did this, and we came out, we made this nice little cat back thing, and then we pulled through, and here. And then we took it back, right? This feels good on their back. This is like cat-cow, using a little more strength. But what happens is, people say, oh, I'm doing the back bend thing.
Oh, gosh, don't do that again, please. That looks so painful.
So like, if they can't roll over their toes, we could just cue them to put the top of their feet down
Yeah,
onto
one at a
and
time.
one at a time.
And make them swap every single time,
Okay.
because they get used to one foot always goes first. And that creates an imbalance. I mean, we're doing this right, left, right, left. We don't just do one side every time.
we've even talked about the lifting off the floor.
I know, the up dog part. Oh.
Or the knot, the reverse shamu.
Yeah.
Shamu
Oh,
out,
shamu
shamu in.
back.
Yeah,
I don't think I'm strong enough for that. I don't think my
not
shoulders
today,
are
my
good.
back is mad.
But yeah, that little brrr, brrr, they're discrete, linear movements.
I will get down there, I don't know what I can do, but if y'all put me in a pose, so you can show, I don't mind, is what I'm saying, if you need a dummy.
Well, I'm gonna, really, we're just gonna go over, I'll do up dog for a second, but let's just talk about, you said, I wanna have people do a back bend. And your first one is usually gonna look like this.
Oh.
I got it. I think there's a picture, like a clip art, you know, some kind of stock photography with the model doing this.
Good.
Right? I think it was on like a big poster in Birmingham for a while. Ah, this is terrible. I mean, this is like I'm watching TV. I'm all in the heel of my hand, okay? I'm not even using my fingers. And then you get the, yeah. So, I would think, but I'm not in a young body anymore. I would think that would hurt your back.
The
beach chair back.
It hurts so bad.
I would
Folding
think
chair.
it does. But because every other form of exercise that people do, you are rewarded for ignoring whatever the hell your body is saying to you. Now we have these people in our classroom. So, most of the time, this is all I teach. And if I see I've got that person in the room, then I say, the next time I'm coming up, you gotta do this. But then that, they're like, God, well, I didn't get very far. It must not have worked. So they want to come up really far, so they've got to do this. And no more anchoring in the feet. Did y'all like using the wall? Right? You had something to push into, not just tops of the feet. But I like to really get the person set up and you just sit there, they're not very patient with this, where you start to spread the feet, and look how I'm gonna just find the tops of my toes. Then I engage my legs. Now I've got a huge anchor and I can lift from here. I feel nothing in my lower back. Okay? That's what your legs are for in a back bend, is the anchor. Not to make this Gumby like here. Okay, and then this guy. They have too much congestion is going on right here. Neck, chin, shoulders, collarbones. And they can't differentiate. So you say, open your heart, and they do this. And it's this thing that's going on. So, and it even happens here. Say you didn't get them to the straight elbows. They're feels terrible as well. So it's because they can't differentiate what's going on here. And so you have to talk a lot about just reaching forward. It's more about length than height, but the lifting the chin creates height. It happens here. Just a moment to digress. I'm going to take a forward fold. My hamstrings don't like this pose. Okay? The teacher has asked me to take a flat back to my forward fold. This happens in your standing forward fold a little bit as well. They go, oh my God. And then this. I got my flat back going on. I know. And it's just the hike in the chin. Means equals flat back. So our cues have to get better. Don't ever assume that just because you heard me or whoever your teacher is say something, that that's the best way to say it. Look at what you've got and go, don't get overwhelmed. Don't get overwhelmed. But start to break down. I think most of it's happening here. What about if I could do that thing right behind them, put my hand on their head, and lift up into, there's your flat back, you got it, and then you take them in. They have to keep pushing into your hand the whole way. But that, and then how do you create that sensation when you can't touch them, right? Well, because there's so much here for a lot of people. Teresa talked about this yesterday, the chakras. We'll get to this later, but everybody has some congestion in their bodies, depending on your personality. So she said self-esteem here. Right here is about your ability to say what you want to say. And people are congested here. and they have not been able to differentiate what's going on here, and it's all here. So for them, a flat back is this. I can say what I'm gonna say. All right, so we've covered down dog. Feet, we talked about feet and down dog. I request hip width apart. Feet together, not too great, and down dog. You might be able to take people wider. Let me go back to the down dog. I would much rather see this, so that my feet are useful, okay? Than this, where I'm like on my toenails or something, and look at all the weight right here. I can't even get my fingers on the floor. Some cueing that I've heard that I thought was helpful to me, feel like you could claw the mat back. These are claws, right?
Suction cups.
The suction cup, people can do that on their wrists. You've got to get them into their fingers. I like to start talking about fingers in all fours. Not a lot of weight is on it right there, but you'd be surprised. This is my hand position. I'm not going to get very far with that. That's when I use the blocks, right? In any minute, you might have to pick it up. So down dog for that person that is in the long one, and they keep coming to it. They never make an adjustment from their plank. There are plenty of people that can come from plank to down dog, never have to make an adjustment. I don't know how that'd be possible, because I'm not going to be able to float my feet to my hands in that extended position. I can't lift my hips. I don't have any leverage. I'm not close enough. Watch. So from plank to my dog is this long guy. I mean, I can pretty much get my heels down, but I don't have any weight over my hands right now. None. I mean, none of my body is over my hands. So I'm going to take one full step. Did you see how my hips got higher? I talk about this all the time, that my hips are going to take my feet to my hands. I did not rock it off the floor. Okay? So that happens because it's a physics problem. I am not a rocket. I'm a lever. I'm levering my butt up over my hands. And the feet just come along.
What are you engaging when you do that? It's mostly your core.
I've taught a class, I don't know if you've been, we'll do it at some point with a blanket. And you put your feet on the blanket and you push yourself out to plank. And you lift yourself up to your down dog. Okay? That action, moving the blanket to your hands and away from your hands, you have to use this.
Okay, I think we did that one day.
Huh?
So I think we did that one day in class
Yeah.
and there was,
Yeah.
wow.
I live talking about that, but.
Practice when we're on this.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is also, this chakra may not be great for you. You may have congestion here. It's not, or it's not congestion here. What it is lack of connection. There's that lack of self-esteem, okay? And you don't know how to engage this in that way. And a lot of yoga for you is very frustrating because you don't understand this movement. I'm not even going to be able to get to Sun B. This movement where you step forward. Okay? Because you don't have a connection to your belly, your step has to do this first. You've got to have some momentum. And a lot of times it does a little bit of that. Because I'm using my hip instead of this space.
And I see a lot of people that do that who sit a lot because the front of their thighs are really
It
weak
is
and
this, a
short.
little bit of this guy too, this person, who's used to working their hips in that way.
So it's not necessarily bad to go from down dog and if you're gonna hop, which I do a lot, just step in a little bit and then hop.
Yes, you
Because
should,
you think that you're not supposed to.
you should.
Okay. I always
If
thought
you're
that you
in
weren't.
that long dog, you have to do the rocket ship because you don't have leverage.
Right.
And then, so if I hop from back here, the only way this is gonna look is that I'm gonna go like this, and my knees do this thing, and then I go, super heavy land, because I'm not far enough over my hands. Shorten it almost to like a forward fold to begin with. Try it from there. I mean, this is how you really work handstands, is from here. You pull in and, right? I'm just moving my hips. I'm not using my feet. It's shifting, shifting, shifting. All right. Huh?
Would you show again, so like, how do you fix when, because this is something that I do and I like am aware of it and I try to fix it.
That's why we're talking
But it's such a
about
like
this.
muscle memory thing that it's so hard for me to like.
Break
fix-
it.
Yeah, so I'm like the person who like be bringing my leg forward, my hip always wants to
Yeah.
roll a little bit and go like this. Like on both sides all the time and it's so hard for me to fix it. So like, I don't know, would you say that one more time? Because I was like,
Okay, so that is about my
Okay.
foot, right? This is
Yeah.
this.
okay,
You've got to access this.
Okay.
And it made me really mentally working,
yeah,
like Teresa talked about.
okay.
My PT that I go to had me start engaging like on an exhale. Well, actually, I think he wanted me to do it on an inhale, but it worked better for me on an exhale. Engaging from the very bottom of your pelvic floor all the way up. It's like zipping it up. And you hear yoga teachers say that all the time, but he had me really walk through. I mean, it's basically, you do a Kegel, basically.
Yeah, it's
And then
Kegels.
from there, you go up, 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 up. And that is like maybe about 9 months ago, I think I actually, for the first time, started truly engaging my lower core.
If you'll grab a blanket and you will push yourself out to plank, pull yourself back to down dog, push yourself out to plank, do that, you'll find it.
Okay.
That's the only muscle it can use. There's nothing else
And-
that's gonna do it.
And think of.
And with straight legs.
Yeah,
Okay.
and when you're doing it, think I'm gonna pull my thigh bone towards my chest.
It
'Cause
helps, yeah.
This muscle, this is your biggest thing, and so this muscle memory, you don't have it yet, and so say thigh bone to chest as you're
But
bringing it.
when you don't have access to this, and I've seen this when I teach with the blanket, people bend their knees and use these muscles to do it. The straighter your legs are not gonna help you. You've gotta access this.
I think I've been in a lot of your classes, Pilar, when you're like, we're doing the, knee to nose and you talk about the cat back.
Right.
Like the cat back helps me so much to not have to
Pulling it
swing.
way up and in,
Yeah.
right? So you got it in two places. We did the blocks, Dominique, right, where I had you tap the back of the block. But look, you should be able to tap and look. There it is, right there. In reverse as well. I'm making the cat back and I'm taking this foot up and back.
That was the only way I could do that, right? I had to think about it.
Right. We use momentum. And if you that's the three-legged dog. I'm gonna swing it way back there, as far back as possible, and maybe even opening my hip up in this place, here. Now my hip is way over here and it wants to do this. I did not use my belly. Habits create our practice. We've got to be willing to go, this is not the only way. If you're willing to do it, your students are going to be willing to do it. can we take a little bitty break? I'm just thirsty.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we'll, what, we're eating at 12:30?
I think so.
Anybody have, I have my schedule.
12:30. Yeah.
12:30 to 1:30.
12:30 to 1:30. Yeah, let me just have let's get 10 minutes and then we'll come back and we might be able to get through Sunday. Yeah, and just see these things. And then I really would like for y'all, maybe we just do one Sunday together with all of this blow your head out information. Yeah? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're okay. I'm going right in the way.
You're fine.
I'm only meeting on 50 bodies because we have a bunch of college students, we have college students. Previous dancers, so we have some dancers that are very
I
busy
do.
doing this.
Yeah.
You know,
The hip